Hello, welcome to Transition to Life, Daily Living Skills, Making Meals. Today we're going to learn how to make one-pot soup. Soup is a very versatile dish. You can take all your leftovers, throw them in a pot with a little water and flavoring, and the next thing you know, you have a half a dozen new meals that taste fabulous. So let's learn the basics of simple soup. Before I came in the kitchen, the first thing I did was wash my hands and make sure that my surface area was clean. Always make sure that you work with a clean surface and that your hands are spotless. Before we start assembling our soup, let's talk about making the chicken so that it's bite-sized pieces. This is leftover chicken from the oven-baked chicken recipe that's earlier in this book. And what we do is just start grabbing it and pulling it off the bone. You can see it just kind of falls right off. You don't have to cut it. You don't have to do anything with a knife other than pull it apart. Now, this might feel yucky for some of you. Some of you may not want to have the grease get on your fingers. If that's the case, latex gloves like they use at the fast food restaurants are a real easy way to keep you from having to touch this chicken. But if you're uncomfortable with using a knife, this is a great recipe and easy to pull the chicken off. You'll notice that I'm pulling it off on a paper plate. Some of my pieces are big, and I may want to cut them up. Once I've got them off the bone, that's a real simple thing to do. I use a different cutting board, though, for cutting meat than I do for cutting vegetables or fruit. I use an acrylic so that the juices can't go down inside the wood, but I like wood for fruits and vegetables. Try to cut on a cutting board of some sort so that you don't cut up your counters or hurt your counters. Once you've finished with your chicken, make sure you wash your hands. The next thing I do, I've pulled my chicken apart and it's ready. I assemble the rest of my ingredients. This is kind of a dump soup. You just dump everything inside the pot. So we're going to start with the chicken that I've already cut up. We're going to throw in onions. I'm going to put in some garlic because I like garlic, but that's up to you. And then the next ingredient is water. In this case, I've measured it out for you, and you can put about 8 cups of water over the top of all of your ingredients. The truth is it's going to, once you measure it and see how much water you put in, you'll see that it will give you about halfway up your stock pot full of water. That's eventually what you want to happen. I'm going to measure out the rest of the water now. Once I have my stock or my bouillon flavoring in, I'm going to turn my flame up to medium-high, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my spices in. It's important with the Italian seasoning and the garlic salt that you measure exactly. If you get too much salt in, it can ruin soup. However, there is a way to save it. In the book, I want you to look and see if you can find how to get salt out of soup. It's a very tricky little device to use. If you find that, email it to me and tell me what you found at My soup's has come to a boil, then I turned it down to simmer. It's got a nice flavor to it now, and you can see it's hot. It's been cooking for about 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and add vegetables. Mine are frozen. You can put in frozen vegetables, leftover vegetables. The beauty of soup is that you can do it any way you want to. Do you see that I'm pouring these very carefully? If I just dump this whole thing in, this soup's going to splash up and burn me. So I just kind of lay it in, even though I got close. It won't hurt me that way because I'm not letting it splash. Now, the truth is, I can bring this back up to a boil or to a high simmer. Make it so that just the bubbles are coming up along the side. And this soup could be done. Or I can add rice to it. I am going to add rice to my soup mixture. Canned tomatoes to it. If you like a little extra taste, you can spark it up a little bit with some soy sauce, some flaked red peppers, some hot sauce, a little red wine. Even if you're underage, if your parents allow you to cook with wine, when you put it in and cook the wine for a little bit, the alcohol boils off and you just have the flavor of the wine inside your food. If you're on medications of some sort though, you may want to stay away from the wine and just do things like garlic, soy sauce, red pepper, hot sauce, if you like extra flavor. Again, when you're cooking, the choices are yours. My vegetables have been cooking for a little while now, and everything is nice and hot again. Because I like a hearty soup, I am adding brown rice to my soup. You can add pasta, barley, and any kind of whole grain, wild rice, brown rice. I try to make things a little healthier with whole grains, either brown rice or barley, something besides plain white rice. But you can add whatever you want. This is your soup. So I'm, again, carefully pouring in cooked brown rice. If you use grains that are not cooked, then your soup is going to get a little starchier and actually turn into kind of a stew. But if you use grains that are already cooked, you won't get that thick broth. You'll still keep a thinner broth. It's up to you. You may like the heartiness of a stew and want to use grains for that. Finally, we like the extra zest of stewed tomatoes. These tomatoes have more garlic and olive oil in them. We're going to pour those in. And you can see how everything is rising. This is a huge pot of soup now that can be used for probably 10 different servings. So now it's your turn. Use your imagination. Use the chart that's in the book to see how you can mix and match different stews, different soups to suit your tastes. If you don't like meat, you don't even have to put meat in. You can just start with the vegetables or put tofu in and make your soup that way. This is a time to be creative and have fun. So go for it and enjoy.